Hi everybody, this is Dr. Whipple. Welcome to the last week of our class. We have talked about old technologies that people use to make meaning. We've talked about new technologies that people have used to make meaning. We've focused on the book, the concept of the book as the printed book as a way that pretty much changed the world and changed the way people think. We've talked about the impact of a particular book on a particular number of cultures and how the book is sort of an icon of modern human culture. And so this coming week we're going to be talking about the future of technologies by which we make meaning, by which we, encode messages that other people decode. And I think we're going to find that there are a lot of technologies that we use that are changing the way we think, changing the way people use the technologies and the way people actually use the world in many of the same ways as the printing press did, or in many ways like the printing press did, but that have similar impacts but may not be the same technologies. Okay. Before we do that, before I get into that, though, I want to give you a little bit of information about the next your final project, which is the Impact Project. Basically, you are on your own to use the impact to choose the technology to use your impact project. Many people choose WordPress blogs. Just go to wordpress.com, create an account, and you can create a blog and use, say, different posts or different pages in the blog for your different elements of the impact project, the different things on the template. And I'm going to be going over the template here in a little bit. Some people have given us recorded audio recordings in a sense a podcast, and that's perfectly fine too. Some people have given me just one web page that which people just sort of scroll down, and that's perfectly fine as well. If you're a comic book artist, if you want to make this a graphic novel, well, that's fine too, if that's your thing. Use the technology with which you're most familiar. What I would prefer you not do, though, is write this as a traditional Microsoft Word document paper. If you're going to use the less technological common denominator, what I would prefer you do is engage a WordPress blog. And I can send you some information about using and creating WordPress blogs in a little bit. Okay, what I'm referring to now is the Impact Project template, which I emailed you all last week. And so if you have that to hand, that would be helpful. But basically, you need your name at the top of the project. If you're sending us a URL, the fact that you send me this particular URL will be sufficient to indicate that you are the author of this. You need a title. Okay, the title needs to be something a little bit more specific or a little bit more imaginative than the name of your technology. You need to have a description of the technology you choose, the functional detailed description of what the technology does. What's going to take probably more space than many other parts of your project is going to be the history of the technology. Just tell us, who invented it, what was the reason or need for the technology, what was it like, how was it adapted, what was the reception of the technology, how did people like it, how did they not like it, how is it received by society, that type of thing. Okay, carry us basically from the beginning of the technology to the present. You don't have to give every specific piece of fact of the history of the technology. For example, if you choose, say, the fountain pen, well, fountain pen has a long history, and you don't have to give us every particular gruesome detail if you don't want to. But we need a good overview of the technology. The second, and just as important element of your project, is going to be a discussion of the impact of the technology over time. What impact has this technology had? What did it enable people to do that people couldn't do before? Look at Eisenstein. Think about Eisenstein, and think about the effect of the printing press on culture, on people, on literacy. Well, what is the effect of this smaller, a little more focused technology on people, on society? You can use your own opinions. You're certainly welcome to use exterior sources if you need to. In fact, it's sort of hard for me to imagine you doing this project without any outside sources. What social changes came about as a result of the technology? What For example, let's take the typewriter. Let's take the plain old manual typewriter. Okay, what social changes came about? Well, one thing that came about as a result of the typewriter is that it gave an opportunity for more women to enter the workforce. Whether it was accurate or not, women were considered more accurate in terms of typing, in terms of using this particular kind of machine. And so the typewriter enabled many more women in the early 20th century to enter the workforce than had been in offices before. So talk about the effect of the technology socially. Talk about it in terms of literately. Did it make more people literate? Did it enable more people to have more of a voice or less of a voice, perhaps? And any other effects that you want to talk about. Finally, I'd like you to finish up with the ethical or moral effects of the technology. And for our purposes, ethics and morals are kind of the same. I know they're different in terms of strict philosophical discussion, but what are the goods, the good things that came out of this technology? What are the not so good things that came out of the technology? How was it a better thing for some people, but maybe not a better thing for other people? Did it advantage people? Did it disadvantage other people? Did it give other people privileges? Some people lack of privileges? To whom or what kinds of people was this a good thing? To whom or what kind of people might this have been a not good thing? Remember that simply the provision of a technology to a people has with it its own set of benefits and unintended consequences. So think of both the intended and unintended consequences of this technology. Finally, I'd like you to finish your conclusion with a full paragraph, at least, more than just a few sentences, of the future of this technology. How do you think this technology is going to look going into the future? What do you think its new versions, its new possibilities will be? How do you think people will take to this technology, use it, adapt it, co-opt it, or whatever? Okay? So that's what I want you to do in terms of covering all of these specific items in the template. It's less important how you format it than it is that you cover all of these elements fairly thoroughly. There's a discussion at the end of the template of the list of works cited. Simply put, everything that you get from another source needs to be cited at the end in a bibliography. Okay? Everything, in fact, everything that you use that comes from somebody else's brain other than yours needs to be cited. Needs to have a parenthetical reference at the end of the sentence in which that information comes, and then you need to refer to it and give a bibliographic citation at the end of your project. If it's a video or audio project, you can just email me a Microsoft Word document for your list of works cited. Otherwise, if you're using a web page or a blog, you can simply write that information down either on a separate page or a separate post or at the end of your last page or post. Okay? So if you use somebody else's words, if you use somebody else's idea, cite it. If you use somebody's idea in their direct quotation, cite it and put quotation marks around it. In other words, there's no reason for you not to give credit for the work you use that comes from somebody else's brain, another book, another article, or whatever. The only exception to this is something that is common knowledge that you might, for example, find in a standard encyclopedia or a dictionary, and even maybe not even then. You know, facts that, Creighton University is in Omaha, the sky is generally blue in the summer, automobiles generally have four wheels. That's what I call common knowledge. Anything much more specific than that you get from another source, you need to cite it, and if you use the exact words, you need to quote it. Those are the rules, okay? When do you quote and when do you hyperlink? That's a good question. You use a hyperlink if you think that the site is important, that the website that you're getting the information is important enough to warrant it. When you feel the site is very good, very illustrative of the idea that you want to explain, critical to your point, or anything that's worth making a path away from your text. Okay, don't take people away from your text just for giggles. Okay, you need to take people away from your text if, say, for example, if you find a very, very good article to link to you think is maybe the ultimate or a really standard article on the history of the typewriter or on the history of the typewriter keyboard, or a narrative or a biography of somebody who invented the typewriter, great, make a link to that, okay? Please be sure also to cite it if you quote from it as well, okay? All hyperlinks need to be embedded in your text, okay? That is, I don't want to see your text and then a list of hyperlinks saying, here are some more hyperlinks to check out to find more on this topic. The hyperlinks should appear where they are appropriate to appear in the text. Okay, so and there's an example on the template, but let's say if you are talking about a man named Scholes, S-C-H-O-L-E-S, who is a very important person in the history of the typewriter as we know it today. Well, you might want to put a link, when you first mention Scholes, you might want to make a link to, say, the Wikipedia page or another web page that gives information about Scholes and his development of the early typewriter. Okay? But make it right there where it first appears in the text. Don't hold it off until the end, at which point your reader will have forgot about it. Put the hyperlink in when you've introduced it to the reader and where your reader will still have the interest to go to it and then come back to your text. Okay? Thank you very much. If you have any more questions about the Impact Project, I'll be happy to talk to you about them. I will also be sending you an updated list of possible technologies for your Impact Project. Look for that both via email and to be posted on Blue Line. Thanks very much. You know my email, you know my phone, you know that we're going to have video office hours tomorrow, Tuesday, the 3rd. So please show up for those or contact me any way you need to. Thanks very much. Have a great day. Happy summer. Bye-bye.